Hi, I'm Keith with No Boundaries International, and I'm going to tell you what happened to me on Super Bowl 57. It was a classic game of two of my favorite teams, Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs versus Jalen Hurts and the Philadelphia Eagles. It was an epic game with the score going back and forth and back and forth. Late in the game, the scores tied 35-35. A minute 57 left. Kansas City has the ball 3rd and 8 on the Philadelphia 15-yard line. The biggest play of the game. Patrick Mahomes drops back to pass. He's feeling the pressure. He throws it, and it falls incomplete. What does this mean? Kansas City is going to be forced to kick a field goal and go up by 3. Philadelphia is going to get the ball back with a chance to go down and tie it and send it in overtime, or maybe score a touchdown and win it. I am ready for an incredible finish. But then on the field is a penalty flag. Defensive holding on Philadelphia, which means Kansas City's going to be able to run the clock out and kick a field goal and win the game. Flags thrown late in the game always make me a little bit anxious because I hate to see penalties decide a game. We see the replay, and sure enough, this was not a call that needed to be called. It was a marginal call. You just don't make these calls late in the game, especially on this big of a stage. So how did I react? I was mad. I was furious. I was screaming, yelling, throwing things. Okay, I was only throwing pillows, but I was truly angry. Matter of fact, I was angry for 3 days. Anytime anybody brought the game up, my anger immediately rose. So here comes the crucial spot. Am I really angry about a football official throwing a flag? Or is there something deeper inside of me that's causing this hurt and pain? So I can have the choice to ask why, or I cannot ask why. If I don't ask, anytime somebody brings up this play, that anger is going to immediately rise again. Or what if another official throws a flag I don't like? Am I going to get angry at him too? Or I can choose to ask why. So I did. And this brings up what we call activate, regulate, and investigate. Activate can be the hardest step because you have to see that, hey, there might be something wrong with me. Instead of burying it, pushing it aside, blaming it on somebody else, what is it about me that's making this happen? The second step is regulate. Do you think I can figure out why or start the healing process when I'm screaming and yelling and throwing things? No, I've got to calm myself down first. Then I can investigate. And in investigating, what I used was a method called reframing. The first step of reframing is to ask God, is it safe? Some people have had major trauma in their life, and you may not want to dig into that trauma until you're into a better place. So I asked God if it was safe, and I felt it was. So I moved on. The second step is to draw what you see. Now, if you're like me, when you hear the word draw, you get anxious and you consider it a 4-letter word. I'm a mathematician, left-brained as left brain can be. I can draw a stick figure and that's about it. So when I heard the word draw, I put up major resistance. But finally I gave in and I was amazed at the results. You see, trauma and hard things are not stored in our intelligence. If they were, we'd solve things a lot easier. Where they're stored is in our imagination and our emotion. So we have to do things to try to get to that part of the brain, and that's exactly what drawing does. So I drew. I first drew what I saw. I drew the football field, I drew some yard markers, I drew the end zone and the goal post, I drew the stands and the press box. Here's the scoreboard, a minute 57 left, 35-35. Okay, I drew the X's for the defense, I drew the O's for the offense. Here's Patrick Mahomes. There's Juju Schuster running his route. There goes the pass. It falls incomplete. There's the referee throwing the flag. But now the third step is to dig in even deeper. You start asking yourself questions. Again, we're trying to get to that imagination and emotion part of our brain. You start asking yourself, what else do I see? What do I hear? What do I smell? What do I taste? What do I feel? For me, being a sports fan, I can just picture myself in the stands of this game. 35-35, half the stadium filled with Eagles, half the stadium filled with Chiefs. I can just feel the intensity of this game. So you see, my emotions are already rising a little bit. I can feel it. Then the fourth step, you ask God, okay, God, What do you want me to know? Sometimes it takes a few minutes. Sometimes it takes a few hours, sometimes longer. Sometimes you bring a friend in to help you with this step. But here for me, it took about 5 or 10 minutes. And God showed me, brought me back to when I was a young child in my parents' living room, watching football games, keeping track of penalties. Matter of fact, I referee high school football. So I realized rather quickly that the person I related to most on this football field was that official. And when I saw him making a mistake and saw him as a failure, what it really reminded me of was me as a mistake and me as a failure. You see, if I look at that pad of paper with that 10-year-old kid, what's on that pad of paper? Failure, lonely, mistake, loser. That's how I saw myself most of my life. So here's the fifth and most important step. It's to reframe this picture. What you do is you put Jesus in the picture, and you've got to put him somewhere in the picture that means something to you or it won't work. For me as a football official, when we get observed, the football official is sitting up in the press box. So what a more of a natural place for me to put Jesus was to put him in the press box with his binoculars in his pad of paper. And I asked Jesus, Jesus, what's on your pad of paper? What do you observe? And he wrote, forgiven, loved, accepted, chosen. Do you see the reframing? Where I first saw myself as a failure as a 10-year-old, now I see myself as forgiven. Where I saw myself as lonely, now I see myself as loved. Where I saw myself as a mistake, now I see myself as accepted. And where I saw myself as a loser, I now see myself as chosen. So now the next time the referee throws the flag, I won't get as angry because I know who I am. Matter of fact, when I referee high school football games and the game starts getting out of control, when I make a mistake or one of my crew guys makes a mistake, I immediately look up at the press box. I see Jesus, and I'm immediately able to calm down and continue with my game because I know who I am. I am forgiven. I am loved. I am accepted. I am chosen. So now it's your turn. When something happens to you and you get angry, your lid flips, you get dysregulated, you have a choice. You can bury it, you can blame it on somebody else, or you can ask yourself why and dive in. So it's my hope and my prayer for you that that's exactly what you do, that you'll ask why, and that you'll get with God, and you will reframe that picture and let the healing begin. Thanks for letting me share.